All right, so hello and welcome to our PHLAFF 2022 Short Blocks program Q&A session. My name is Sophia Mondragon and I'm part of this season's programming team. And so today I'll be talking to Arlene and Eric, who are part of the filmmaking team behind 6 Feet of Love, which is part of a Short Blocks with um, various other films um, like Archive and the Storyteller, Calabaza, and Glarifa, which all explore themes regarding love, family, interpersonal relationships, and the complicated nature of caring about people. So I'd like to first start for you to introduce yourselves and the work that you've done, and then we can kind of jump into the questions.
Sure. So my name is Arlene Chico-Lugo. I am the director and a performer in 6 Feet of Love and co-founder of Liberation Arts Collective.
Hello, my name is Eric Aviles. I'm her husband, and I'm the writer of 6 Feet of Love, as well as a performer in the film.
So my first question is, what inspired you guys to make your film? And
Well, since we're a married couple and we were experiencing the like New York on pause, um, we were just dealing a lot, just being isolated, just us two, and being artists that mainly do theater. And when the pandemic hit, everything got shut down. All our work just came to a complete halt. And so there was a lot of stress, fears, concerns, like, whoa, oh my God, we're in this profession that could easily be taken away from us. And so we went through a process of trying to heal from that scare as well as create. So we started to just convert our apartment into a studio and started purchasing equipment and had this conversation about this whole concept of being 6 feet apart from each other, which just sounded very sci-fi and absurd. And so we wanted to try to find humor in this complex time that everyone was experiencing. So we just started just playing around, and since we're both performers, we had the ability and time to just play in our apartment while everything was on pause. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you said it. Yeah. I mean, we were just that's where the idea came from. So I think because we're both artists and we're also collaborators, it was a sort of natural transition and a natural thing for us to just be like, oh, well, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? And then he finally got that down into a script and then we ended up shooting it. And then when we had it, we were like, okay, well, what now?
it seems like humor was a very intentional choice. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, well, I think, one of the things that we feel passionate about, I certainly feel passionate about, is the idea that joy is a revolutionary act. And so for all of us to be in this time that is full of angst and pain for a lot of people, we really wanted to be a part of, maybe uplifting them in some way and uplifting ourselves too, and doing something with all of that angst and pain and turning it into something that could be fun. And hopefully it is for folks. Hopefully they have a good time and a good laugh watching it.
So how did you develop the story of your film, and what was so important about the development process and the characters that you chose?
Yeah, my wife and I, we talk about art all the time. You know, it's our lifestyle with ideas and dreams and creating pieces, and so we're constantly having a conversation. It's our lifestyle, and so I think there was just this. I know for me there was frustration about this whole 6 feet apart thing. You know, especially in the beginning, going to the supermarket 6 feet apart. You know, people fearing each other, and it's one of the things that infuriated me because I'm a very sociable person, and I do feel that it's very important for us to build community, be together. And so when this pandemic struck, yeah, I was upset, and I wanted to just explore like kind of the satire of this. Like if a couple was to take this to the extremes, they're doing everything 6 feet apart. Like what would that be? And just for us to reflect on the absurdity of it. Like this is not normal, and nor should we allow it to become normal, right? Especially now that we're coming out of a new phase of this pandemic. I think we need to embrace reconnection, embrace coming together, touching each other, giving each other a hug, and not being afraid. Um, so my wife, she tends to listen to my rage and anger, and is like, hey, what can we do with it? And so we were just throwing ideas back and forth and just having a good laugh at this concept of being 6 feet apart. And so I just wrote some notes, and we wanted it to be without words. And I really don't know how that came about. I really don't know how.
Yeah,
It just automatically
happened.
just happened, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because I had a little bit different of experience than Eric did during the pandemic. I remember really early on seeing a chalk drawing on a sidewalk, and it said 6 feet of love. And so they were popping up all over the country. And for me, it was this idea that that's how we show love for each other. That's how we show community for each other. Is that we're gonna do this very hard thing for this short period of time. Well, it ended up not being so short, but we're going to do this thing for each other, and that's how we're going to show community. So it's interesting, that we're sort of coming at it from maybe opposite ends, but that we were sort of exploring it in that way. And yeah, I also I don't remember why we chose for it to be a silent film, but it came out. So that's how it came out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the time too we were looking at like Charlie Chaplin's
Mm-hmm.
stuff. We were looking at comedy too
Mm-hmm.
during that time. Like uplift your vibration. You see things that are funny, and I remember that time it was like looking at some Charlie Chaplin stuff.
What was your favorite part of the filmmaking process and working as collaborators?
It's an interesting. I'm hesitating because we work a lot together, so I'm like, okay, so this particular one, let me think back.
Go back, yeah.
Actually, I think that our favorite part was, well, because this was sort of like in the thick of it. We invited our neighbor, who's also in the industry, to come film us, and he was the only one, like he was part of our sort of pod, and so he got a chance to sort of see, I think, a window into our compromising as we're working together, and I think he really got a kick out of that, just the sort of like back and forth, and what that's like. So it was fun for me to see somebody else kind of like witness the behind the scenes of what we do when we're still working out what a piece is, because I think when we shot it, we had it down on paper and we had sort of been talking about it for a long time, but there was still a lot of like, oh, well, okay, I think we need to change this part because that's not quite working. There was still some working out that needed to be done as we were filming it. So kind of getting through that negotiation with a witness there was fun and interesting for me. I'm sort of fascinated by the fact that we are a husband and wife collaborating team, or I'm just fascinated by that idea. And one day I'll make a piece about it. But it was nice to see that through somebody else's eyes.
Yeah, I think the one that pops into my mind is the love making
Oh,
scene,
yeah.
and yeah, I think originally it was maybe too much, and it was not. The way it turned out is a lot funnier. You know, my wife directed the piece. I wrote something different, and then when we got up on our feet, it was like, okay, this is not gonna work. And then you suggested what we have, and so I think it's just a lot funnier. Um, yeah, it's really interesting that when you embody these characters and put it up on its feet, that it has another life, right? Another possibility of transformation. And so not everything was so strictly to the script. And then the way we work is flexibility, there's negotiations, just all of that that comes into it.
You've touched on this before, but I'm going to circle around back to it. The film is silent. I think it's one of the only silent films in the short program that I know of. How was that? Was it challenging to fully embody these humorous characters in a silent manner? And did it allow you, or did it allow you to experiment more physically and emotionally?
I think yes. Yeah, I think it did. It sort of, in an interesting way, I felt like it brought us back to that theater background in that because it's silent, it felt like, yeah, you had to be more expressive with your body or expressive with your facial expressions. I know in the domino scene, you had some really good facial expressions in that. So yeah, I think it did allow us to embody those characters in a really physical and fun way. Um, and it's funny because I think it's sort of symbolic of like all the things that were taken away during that time, you know. So if you think about the fact that we're voiceless, it's like, oh well, contact with other people was taken away. Maybe that communication was taken away from some people, or changed, altered in a way. It did everything through Zoom, or phone calls, or FaceTime, or WhatsApp, you know. But yeah, I think it did allow for a different type of expression, and I think it felt really fun. Like what can we do? What are the limits of physical expression that we can do now in this shot?
So you both come from a theater background. Um, was the filmmaking process initially challenging, or did a lot of your theater background inform what you did do and what you could do?
Um, I, it wasn't the only thing that was what became challenging, or like the technical aspects, like how long it takes to set up to do lighting setups and to really get it right. So that was the thing that really um, it took longer than I thought. And so I think we initially thought we could shoot it in like a day, which did not happen. It took us 3 days to shoot it. So that was something that was sort of new. I had produced another short film, so I had some experience, and then I was, we've both been actors for a really long time, so we've had experience in front of the camera. But being in charge of all the aspects of production sort of really shined a light on the amount of time and the meticulousness that's needed with all of the things that need to happen before you actually start filming?
Yeah, it was definitely a learning curve. Um, I edit the film too, so it was a crash course in how to work with DaVinci Resolve, dealing with colors, sound, all these things that if you are not like a groomed filmmaker, you wouldn't know about these things. I think people just assume that putting a film together it could be very easy, and I think there's a lot of steps involved, a lot of players that are involved. I mean, when you see like film credits, you just see all these names, right? So it makes profound sense why there's a lot of things that go into creating a film. So, you know, I'm just grateful for YouTube University because I watched a lot of YouTube videos and you learn, and that's exciting. And that gave us courage to like pursue this more, to grow, because it's possible. And there was joy in the process of learning. And if I had a bigger budget, I would be like, hey, I understand what an editor needs. I understand what a sound person needs, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because these are important roles in putting a film together. And you want to have the best quality film, and you need those expertise. So I really have a profound appreciation for all the folks that are behind the scenes, because it's a lot that goes into it.
So as I mentioned in my introduction, like this short block is all about interpersonal relationships and more broadly love stories. And it's a very general categorization of love stories. Um, how do you see the themes of the short block of interpersonal relationship, love, familial love in your own film, and were those guiding themes like in your initial conception of the film?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're thinking a lot about how to navigate just this time um, as a couple, as a married couple. Um, and so that's sort of it. So the idea for the film was sort of born out of that, born out of like the love of a marriage, and then taking that idea to the extreme, with the New York on pause, with the 6 feet of distance. And then, yeah, what would it be like for a married couple to have those rules inside of their home? Um,
Yeah, I heard a lot of stories of couples just getting divorced, separation once things started opening up. So I only can imagine that those situations in the home were intense, and which caused people to separate. Um, I feel like this, we're gonna get through this together. I mean, that's not only as a married couple, and I love my wife, and I know that I could just she has my back. There's not a doubt in my mind. And so I think during the pandemic, when we were just living through it, through the New York pause, as well as just beginning to create, um, for me, it was just deep. We just became deeper into our relationship. I just, because we were spending so much time at 24/7 together, and so to me, I'm just seeing another uh, growth and from my wife, and just seeing her just create, it excites me. It brings me joy, because to me, I think that's an aphrodisiac. That's an aphrodisiac. Yeah, the creation, it's like, wow, man, this is sexy, you know. So, um,
And I think that's all. That's reflected in the film, like this idea that okay, this is a hard time, but we're gonna get through it together.
right.
And so yeah, that's one of the themes that I think aligns our film with the specific block that we're in.
So my final question is, uh, um, what message would you like the audiences who watch this film to walk away with, or
I I don't know if it's so much a message, but I just hope that people laugh. I think when we laugh, or even chuckle or smile. There's like a transformation that happens in us, no matter what we're experiencing, whether we are going through a hard time in our life or a good time in our life. We all need laughter. We need levity. We need joy. So I hope people get a good chuckle, a smile on their face, and yeah, maybe just the idea that we can get through this together.
all right. Do you guys have any final thoughts before we wrap this Q&A session up?
Just very grateful that we're a part of this festival. Um, we take a lot of pride just being part of a community of other Latino artists, and it's a privilege and an honor. And I'm just happy. I'm happy for all the other artists that are selected. I know there's some friends of ours that are in the festival too, so that's pretty exciting. But yeah, sigue pa'lante. Much love.
All right. Well, I wanted to formally thank you for sitting down to talk to me. And I hope everyone gets a chance to see your film, 6 Feet of Love, and in the short block, which it is in. And thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy this season of FLAFF.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.